How many of us know people in the blue zones? Do they have crappy posture? Do they walk around like they can barely walk with canes? No, they're flexible and they walk and they stand up straight and they can do squats still and they're moving their legs and they're using their bodies as their vessel that this energy's in.
Hi, everyone. This is Martin Pytela for the Life Enthusiast Health Shots podcast. And today, believe it or not, I am honored and excited to introduce to you Kelly Kennedy. She is a force. I promise you, this is not going to be a boring talk. Kelly, welcome.
Thank you so much, Martin. And I so appreciate you. I've so been honored myself to get to know you over the last few months. And so I'm really excited about talking to your community
Awesome.
because I know they're ready for this.
Okay, people. So you hear me talk about 4 pillars of illness: toxicity, malnutrition, stagnation, and trauma. It's easy for me to get you with toxicity and with malnutrition. That's the high points for my practice. But stagnation is something that you actually have to deal with physically yourself. And I use the word stagnation as the negative term. But today, you'll actually learn about flow. And we'll unpack the 4, maybe 5 letters, FLOWE. And Kelly, well, let's start with, how do you know what you know?
Well, that's how deep we want to answer that question, but thank you for that. Energy flow, which is really the system that I've created, the technique, the technology, came from necessity, like it always does. As a practitioner, I would call myself a healed but previously wounded practitioner who, you know, I grew up like so many of us in a nice family with lots of love, but my dad was really sick and he had a genetic disorder. I was kind of threatened that you might get this genetic disorder, but nobody could tell me if I was going to get it or not. So I did what I thought I could do, was go to become a doctor. And I was pre-med at Cornell when I was in a horrible car accident. I almost died. And that same year, my dad had a couple strokes and ending his chronic illness at 55 years old, passing. And I was then on 6 medications managing pain, acne, asthma, and allergies. Previously a collegiate rower, now basically managing pain and illness and, a lot of grief. And
Right.
I spent 3 years trying to go everywhere like everybody else does, but this was in the 90s. And then I found this guy who helped me experience what we now call a spontaneous healing. And when I asked him what he did, he literally said energy. And when I asked him how to make sure that the pain didn't come back, he literally said be. And so 27, that was 28 years ago now, actually. So 28 years ago, when he said that, I experienced it. I couldn't explain it. And so I dove down the path of figuring out what the heck happened. Because, Martin, as you know, my mission is to not just for me to be free, but for everyone to be free of knowing how to take care of their bodies and their health so that none of us feel like a victim to our genes, to our lifestyle, that we get to make choices and we become free from whatever we've been told that our health is outside of us when really everything is inside of us. And so that sent me on this journey of understanding the science behind energy, and from Tesla to Einstein to so many others at this point. And we run a clinical practice in Pennsylvania for 20 years. I have a podcast, I have a membership program now. And really my job, if you will, my mission is to help educate people around how the body works, and then secondarily give them the experience of how the body works and allow them to become their best practitioner and their best, nurturer of themselves, me included. Listen, you want to know why I learned this, Martin? Because I had to learn this.
So you just glanced over a whole bunch of super important points, and you just spray it like it's
I know.
machine gun fire. But the truth
Machine
is,
Gun Kelly, that's what they call me, Machine Gun Kelly, as of today.
Yeah, and the middle name in the middle name initial is F. We won't say it out loud.
It's for flow, of
Fourth.
course.
Yeah,
Flow. Would
Kelly
it
the
be
fourth.
flow,
Kelly.
force? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot that I went over, but it, go ahead.
Okay,
Go ahead.
let me just try and highlight it. So first of all, you get sick. You can get sick with nutrition. You can get sick with trauma. You can get sick with genetics. You stacked all three. Every one of us is born with stuff and then gets growing up with stuff and that gets miseducated by the society. And we do stuff wrong. And we usually end up with personally inflicted wounds and iatrogenic inflicted wounds. The medical system is so screwed up, it's not even funny. And if we ever want to be well, we have to unlearn a ton of stuff.
Yeah, like for instance, that anything was ever wrong with us to begin with, and our body ever made a mistake. Because actually, everything that our body's ever
Yeah.
done has
Yeah.
been
Without
for.
a doctor, the body wouldn't know what to do.
I mean, how I love that. Yeah, without the body, without the doctor, the body doesn't know what to do. I mean, can we just make that a book? That's a great book right there.
Yeah.
Because I talk about all the time, I was pregnant. And for those, I had a few extra weeks than most people. For 47 weeks of pregnancy, I really experienced a lot of joy, but I didn't really do much. And out popped, yeah, sure. I pushed real hard was this beautiful child that was perfect, and I didn't do anything. And it's colleagues of mine that have written books that have talked about this before, like Dr. Mindy Pell's in one of her fasting books where she talks about it. She was here in this office when it came to her. Like, why do we worry so much about how to take care of that baby when it's in the womb? We're fully trusting. It comes out of the womb. Oh my God, all the fear sets in. And I just, that for me is the big question, why? And that's the question I've never stopped asking, probably to my parents' dismay, but I never stopped asking why. Like, why do I have to live in pain for the rest of my life? Doctors, I'm a collegiate rower. You're telling me because I have an injury and I compressed a couple of vertebrae and lacerated my spleen and got scalped, I'm going to have to manage my pain for the rest of my life? Why do I have to get cancer just because my dad got cancer? Why do I have to get it? I don't understand. Is there something I can do in the diet that's different? They were like, no, no, no. And I was 16 going to the oncologist with my dad, and they were telling me I was crazy. And they're like, no, 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 diet has nothing to do with it. Really? How about his lifestyle? I mean, he's a dry cleaner and he doesn't exercise much and he's, not out in the sun much. And when he does, he gets really burned because he doesn't take a lot of vacations. And looking back, why? Well, because he was feeling guilty. Why? Well, because he was the youngest of three. Why? Because his mother died when he was 9. And his father had to go to work and take the kids away from the family homestead and take them into the little town of, like 30 minutes away. And they had to start working. And they learned hard work, hard work, hard work. And, anybody could die at any minute. And so, from the good side of that, my dad lived every day as though it was his last. And he was one of the most charismatic, amazing men. But on the other side of it, I realized in my own journey that he gave me kind of this, imprinted this kind of like terminality that if you don't do it today, oh shit, you might not be here tomorrow. And so I got this like pace of life that was like punishing essentially. Because
Yeah.
if I didn't, and I lived full out, which was great, but it didn't allow for any kind of like pull back. It didn't allow for any rest. And so balance is life, right? And so all these things that happen to us while we're growing up and all this information, this imprinting is often our body making safety behavioral choices. My dad didn't feel safe. And so he did all the things to make him feel safe. And so I didn't feel safe. And so if we don't feel safe, that's the common denominator, then we're going to do things to make us feel safe. And what I am here to help people with is, as Martin said, the doctors doesn't know how your body works.
Right. All right. So let's unpack the one big thing. So there is a website, and the website is called the True Wellness Center.com.
That's
And
right.
on it, you can find a link that says membership. And on that membership, you'll be able to get yourself into a group of people. I'm in it. I've learned so much from it. It's just amazing how the reminders, even if I knew it and I did know it before, but the reminders of how to do it are just so helpful. So let's just do the flow. The F, the L, the O, and the W. Let's just name it. Here is what you need to know. Exercise is good, but it's not enough.
Right, exactly. So the first word, actually, we changed it a few years ago. We went from flow with an E at the end to put energy in the beginning, because what I realized is people weren't paying attention to the most important part of the whole equation, which is energy. Because all of life is energy, and we're going to leave it to talk about last because it's the most involved, but know that it's the most important. So energy flow is really what the system is called. And energy is the most important piece. However, energy is, because it's the biggest rabbit hole we'll to end. Fascia is the F. That is the antenna, essentially, that connects our physical self, because we are having a physical experience, as Martin said, but it connects our physical experience to our non-physical, which is that energy.
Yeah.
And then the fascia, so the fascia becomes our antenna. We'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah,
The
actually, people don't know enough about fascia.
fascia.
So
Fascia
fascia is
Fascia
the stuff.
fabric.
It's the covering of things. It's the connective tissue that's all around you, all within you. It's the highway of electric signals that the Chinese people call meridians. The energy travels on that.
It's where the rubber meets the road, is what I call it. It's where the non-physical becomes the physical, and it's actually the fabric that's our shape organ. So this has got a little grotesque, perhaps, but if I was to be de-skinned, I would lay here. You could see my body, and you could see every dink, everything that's ever happened to me that I haven't healed in my fascia, because it's where the story lays. It's where the trauma and the issues are in the tissues, as I say. It's where all that stuff is stored. Your fascia is like your closets at your house. You know, when you come and the neighbors are coming over and you clean your house and you're like, oh, let me clean up the house. That's your lymph system. We'll talk about that in a minute. But when you do that, what do? You throw it all in your closets, because I'll deal with that later. That's your fascia. Your body's going, you got to deal with it at some point. You can't get away without it, because otherwise you're hoarding, and that stuff is going to come out of your closets and make a mess in your house. That's the fascia. It's our shock absorber. It creates our piezoelectric effect, as Martin was saying. When we walk, when we move, when we connect to the physical ground, we create an ionic exchange, yes, but without even earthing, just by movement, by the physical structural movement, that creates an electrical charge that travels up that highway. And that is how the body receives information. And then it sends those signals from the fascia in, because like tentacles, it's wrapped around every organ, every joint. It actually is
Muscle.
around every muscle. That's right. And it's, again, it's creating the shape, so that when that information comes in from nature or from our heart, because that's the electromagnetic signal from within that's connected to the fascia, because embryologically we start as fascia. So the sperm and egg get together, they unite, they make a light. Light is the wave. The wave becomes a particle. That particle is the fascia fabric. That fascia fabric holds shape to allow the heart organ, which is our generator of frequency, to be held in its shape. And then around that, the rest of the body gets created. And then we send and receives more signals from our heart than we do any other part of our body, not more our brain than our gut. And those signals are then translated through that fascia. And then it's magnified through the lymph, which is your water part of your body. And so if that signal's going through water, just like any signal going through water, if the water's thick like soup, it's going to screw up the signal.
Yeah, the
If it's
water
got
is not water,
floating,
it's an electrolyte. And the fascia is not just something, it's actually a capacitor. And the piezoelectric faculties of this thing, the movement, is actually stretching and shortening it. And in the pumping action, there is a source of electricity. And it's so crazy complex. And any engineer would, if you understand it, it's the electric part of your body, and it's fed through movement.
and it shape shifts.
Yeah.
and it is strong. Like it can withstand up to 2,000 pounds of tensile pressure. It is that thing that, they talk about, oh, people pick up cars and they don't have the strength. That's your fascia doing that. Your fascia is actually the organism that's keeping you safe. And it's our ability to have consciousness over it, which is a whole nother story. But that fascia is it's your protective mechanism that's keeping you completely safe, but it has this gliding motion. And when it's not gliding and it gets stuck because we get stuck, because we're still at times, because we sit in chairs and we sleep in beds, it actually creates like these cobwebs. And then we have to open up those cobwebs like every single day. And some people call it Gil Headley, who's a fascia specialist. We call it fasciist in my world. There's a fascia.
The
Um,
fascist, when I met my fascist, it was called the raw thing. And
because it's a little like, yeah.
and by the way, if any of you have done raw thing, it is the method by which you get at the adhesions and remobilize the stuff that became stuck. And
Yeah.
it was remarkable. I had this done, I think I was about 39 or something like that. And I
It was
after
like one
the
of the
10th,
first techniques ever Ida Ralph came out with, like in the 40s, I believe it was.
yeah,
And that's the thing. Fascia in Europe is very well known, in America, not so well. And
yeah,
there's only maybe a handful to maybe two handfuls of fascia techniques, even to
yeah,
this day. I mean, one of my technique is one of them. I mean, it's
yeah,
fascinating to me that
yeah.
it's still this new pioneering like framework for people.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I had the before and the after picture of the 10 sessions, and my my posture has changed dramatically because I was a bound up, twisty person from the previous life because I did have my car accidents and falls and injuries and emotional trouble and whatever, and I was packing it all in. And after it was remobilized, my body was very different.
Well, if you'll allow me to just show a slider share, I wasn't going to show these, but yeah, I'll just show you what happens with a client when they work with me for 1 hour. So this gentleman on the left, this is 1 hour worth of work, and the woman on
Okay,
the right is
please
one
note
hour.
the twistedness of the fellow before
Yep.
and the
And
straightedness of him after.
yeah, I mean, look at the line. It's not in his belly button on the one on the left, and his breasts are really askew. Now he's got huge scars on his back. He fell out of a tree 60 feet, and he's been dealing with pain for years and years. But this is 1 hour of work of just working on his scars. That's all I did was work on his scars.
Yeah,
The woman on the right has been a client for a while. She came out for an upgrade. Look at her shoulders, the difference in her shoulders.
yeah,
And she just in general felt like she lost weight and everything. And for she knows she's looking to make that vessel into a baby making vessel. So she wants to improve it as much as possible. The guy on the left takes care. First of all, he climbs trees for a living because he's a tree surgeon. And
yeah,
secondly, he takes care of another person who's a quadriplegic. So he has to constantly lift and torque and move his body in different ways. And because he was already torqued, I'm like, if we don't help you unwind that, you're going to make it worse. And so let's get you in as much alignment as possible because to your point, that's your antenna. And the better your posture is, the better receiver you are. And this goes throughout our life. Like, how many of us know people in the blue zones? Do they have crappy posture? Do they walk around like they can barely walk with canes? No, they're flexible and they walk and they stand up straight and they can do squats still and they're moving their legs and they're using their bodies as their vessel that this energy's in. And, that's essentially if you were to common denominator it, bring it to the lowest level of what I do is I'm here kind of like Trinity was in the Matrix to tap us all on the shoulder and go, hey, by the way, follow the white rabbit. You are the one. You are the one that came in to this physical body as a divine being. But here's the thing, we're all the one. And
yeah,
we didn't know how this body worked. And we didn't know we could reprogram it and have different information. We thought that our story of who we were born to and where we were born into and what genetics we were born into had everything to do with it. And then we were learning, that's only 10% of the body. 90% of the body is this emotional body of water that's energetic, that actually is connected to everything else. And it's actually more in a waveform than a particle. And this is just the representation of what's going on in that non-physical. So let's get those two things into alignment. And that became the study of energy of like, okay, 27 years later, you're so far down the rabbit hole, Kelly. You know how to help people in here. How the hell do you explain what it is you do? Well, I don't know. And it's taken a
Yeah.
lot of wonderful colleagues and people to help me frame it to go, okay, here's really what it is. The fascia is your antenna. Then that signal comes into your lymph, which is your water part of your body, which you have 3 times more of than blood. A lot of people talk about blood work. What's your CBC look like? What's your panel look like? Who cares at some level? I mean, it's important at some level, but 90% of you is what's sending signals to that blood. So let's look at what's in the signals of the blood. Go ahead.
So let's just say that we are finished with the F. We're moving to the L.
Yes.
And lymph for love and fluid. And it's where the interface happens. Kelly, can you show the aquarium?
Yes, I was just pulling it up for you now, Martin, actually.
This is a really important concept that is so visually awesome. And there we go.
Yeah.
Look
So,
at the aquarium on the left side.
yeah.
Visualize that it's been poisoned by stuff, by whatever, industrial age, everything.
Since the Industrial Revolution, my husband wrote a book called The Abundance Journal, which we're actually going to launch soon. And it's just about how we've learned how to use technology and so forth, and it actually changed our food, it changed our environment, and we became an industrialized community. However, we became a very sick community very fast. And I grew up in a pet store. I mean, it was very simple for me when I learned this. I was like, this makes so much sense because when the fish got sick, we didn't just treat the fish instantly and medicate it because we were frugal. What we did was we changed the water the fish was in and then see if we still need to treat the fish.
Yeah.
But yet, in Western medicine and conventional medicine, they didn't do that. They wanted to medicate it. And I started to look at this. My father had cancer. Does it matter what he eats? No, let's just bring him in for chemo and radiation. Okay. He never takes a vacation. Does that have anything to do with it? Oh, no, no. How he lives his lifestyle has nothing to do with it. He's just genetically, he has Hodgkin's disease, and that's all there is.
Yeah,
And
it's
yet,
the roulette. Yeah, yeah. You just got the wrong set of genes.
right. And yet, inside, while he was this amazing, magnanimous man, I also saw a man that was sad. Like I saw a man that couldn't connect with his daughter that loved him as much, loved him so much. And he couldn't connect with me in the way that I know he wanted to, not the way he could maybe connect with my brothers, because I was a girl. It was a little different.
Uh-huh.
And he was full of disease. Then, as I learned this medicine of terrain medicine, of changing the environment and watch the cells change their behavior, right?
Mm.
Take the rat out of the environment, put in a different environment, and it changes its behavior because we are a result of our environment. And then I started to realize, well, my dad handles his emotions probably the same way his mother did or his father did or ever, like he never learned how to handle that. He never learned that the chemicals and the pesticides and the insecticides they were using in the farming that that they were using before he went his dry cleaning was probably not the best for the environment, for the animals either. While that was part of the industrial revolution, it was also not with nature. And starting to understand the rhythms of life is really looking at, I'm a scientist, I'm a biologist. What does that mean? I study life. So I study rhythms and circadian rhythms and how the body creates patterns within its rhythms.
Okay.
And that's
So
called.
I'd like to highlight this important bit just so it doesn't get lost, which is this. Anything that gets into the fish, which in this metaphor is your cell, has to be in the aquarium. And the aquarium is the lymph. The water in the aquarium is the lymph. So your cell takes up from the lymph the inputs and drops back into the lymph its outputs. So the fish poops in the water. The fish eats from the water. It's the water that determines the circulation of life, the function of it all. So, lymph.
Thank you. Yes. And so the question is, where's the filter for this tank?
Yeah, what is the filter?
what is the filter? And the filter is the lymphatic system. So this is the picture of live blood, which on the left shows very like that tank that's just full of environmental toxins, pesticides, metals and chemicals and emotional stress. That's the person on the left with really sticky,
Yeah.
thick blood and no space so the cells can't receive information. On the right, you see a lot of space. That's the lymph. You see the cells are able to be communicated. Everything can move around. The white blood cells are in there as well. Those are the ones that look like little happy faces, and they can identify any pathogens or invaders and then can mobilize it out. And everything goes well. And the body is able to let go of its toxicants, circulate its nutrients and gases, which is part of that lymphatic system as well. And the body is able to let go, create space, and circulate and inform. And then the function of the organs are proper because the cells are being given the right information. So then inside the cells and the mitochondria, they're receiving proper signaling and then can function at optimal level. And that's then allowing the oxygen, because there's space now, that oxygen can travel everywhere in the body because we know pathogens and toxicants don't live in oxygenated areas. And then the water inside the body, think back to those water crystals we showed you. We know from Emoto's work, who was one of the first people to ever show us this, that water is a reflection and it actually changes its form based upon the information we give it. So if we say ugly, it's going to make ugly crystals. And if we say pretty, it makes symmetrical crystals. And I've had a lot of kids try this experiment at home. You don't believe it. Take two plants, separate them, water one with water that you say pretty things to, water one with water you say ugly things to, and see what happens to the plants.
Here we are. So water is the universal memory medium of the universe, of the life on this planet. And the water is a polar molecule. It is an H plus and OH minus N. It's magnetic. And these latent crystals can arrange themselves, and they actually arrange themselves depending on the vibrational, energetic, subtle, non-physical impact that's sent their way. So being told something awful actually has an expression upon you, or the plant, if you want to manifest it.
Beautifully said, Martin. Exactly. And the water is this vessel, like we are, that holds information. And so
Yeah,
it's really important to what we expose it to, both in physicality of what
yeah,
we expose it to. You know, if I sit in Axe body spray for long enough, I'll tox out my water again. If I clean out my water and don't allow, chemicals and perfumes and scents and fragrances and food colorings and dyes and processed foods, that's none of it's real, and my body looks at it as all as foreign objects, then it's got to get rid of it.
yeah,
So then we become a little bit purists and we start to go, okay, if it doesn't come from from nature, then I don't want it because my body's got to filter it out, and I don't want to get my body work harder than it needs to. I don't want to wear my engine out on stupid crap. I want to live a really long life and
right,
not waste out my engine because I put crappy oil in it. Let's put high grade, high quality oil, get my car to prove well, and my car will optimize and it'll actually last longer.
right.
And so movement is number one. Water is number two, oxygen moving through. So the water holds the structure. So the energy can flow uninterrupted. And then we live it in our hearts and we use our minds because we're real smart. We don't want to not use that. But we first listen to the information, the non-physical part of us, of when are we in energy harmony and when are we not. Oh, I don't know why I want the ice cream tonight. Is that my emotional self being like, oh, I didn't get fed earlier, so I want to feed myself emotionally? Or is it because I need the fat and I'm listening to my body going, you didn't get enough fat today? And either one, it could be a benefit, even though it's got sugar in it. Yeah, I said that. And I'm not a big fan of ice cream. I have no idea why ice cream came up, other than I got a lot of people in my house right now that really like ice cream. But anything can be looked at as good as long as you're in alignment with it, because nothing by its nature is bad. It's
Yeah.
listening to your body and realizing your body's never making a mistake. But the question becomes, can you discern between your crap and your truth and then your truth and somebody else's truth. Like, are you doing that because you want to do that? Are you doing that because you have a mother wound that you've never healed and you're trying to take care of everybody and you forgot to take care of yourself?
Right.
And that becomes where the emotional, spiritual, of how energy flows become a big deal. And so it doesn't get stuck in the tissues. We work on the fascia, the lymph, and movement and physically move because everything moves. Otherwise, we're stagnant.
Yeah.
And that comes from, oh, I do this because when my father did this, I did this. Really? You're still playing that story? You're 60 now. Like, move on.
Yeah. So here's some interesting highlights from this. We humans are dynamic creatures. Dynamic as in the inhale, exhale. You have to push stuff out, bring stuff in, ingest, excrete. Um, all of this is dynamic. If you go non-dynamic, you have a marble statue or a wooden block. It's immutable. It stops growing. It may still look pretty, but it's not living. And the livingness requires inputs and outputs, interactions. So that's point one. You are a dynamic creature. Point two, I want to make sure that you get is that mind over matter. Yes, you can totally eat ice cream if you want, as long as you take it with the loving consciousness that it deserves. And you know, so many people who have not lived healthy and yet lived long in a healthy body. And it's because their consciousness overrides the toxicity of what's coming in. So mind over matter, but not all of us are masters. So don't tempt or don't just do worse than you need to, because you may not be as much of a master as you're thinking of.
That's a really good point. I mean, a little knowledge can be dangerous, and um, knowing how to do this and practicing it every day, which is why I built the forum, was take philosophy and put it into action because there's a learning curve to everything. And when I started doing this 28 years ago, I thought I was a really great creator and manifester, and I was really clear up with my stuff. And if I looked at that person, no judgment, now that was on this podcast, I'd have totally different answers and totally because I continued to change and grow and expand and continue to go deeper into the work so that I could be a better version of me, so that I wasn't the limiting factor for anybody. So the way I said it, how I said it, what I look like when I said it, didn't, not for anybody else, was number one, my truth, but also wasn't pushing somebody else's buttons because of how I said it, because wasn't in my own trauma, to
Hmm.
allow them to not hear the truth. Because when you hear the truth, you resonate. And that's what I really invite everyone to follow. That part of your body that's getting chills when you hear the truth and go, wow, I want more of that. And when we have more and more of that in our lives, we heal. And as to Martin's point, freedom and healing doesn't look like gluten-free, dairy-free, everything's free of taste and flavor and everything, because the point of life is to live it and love it and in an 80-20 rule, right? I can't throw out the fact that I'm a physical body and just eat crappy food all the time and ignore what I know. Ignorance is bliss. But when we know and we're conscious, like I can eat that bowl of ice cream and go, this is feeding my soul and it's feeding my fat and I love it right now. But if I do that every day, that's dumb.
But also, I want to just bring in the Reiki of it. Like we all
Yeah.
are fully capable of
Alchemist.
channeling the energy that informs the universe. I can just let it come through me and out through my hands. I can bless the food before I eat it, and it's going to be a very different experience.
1,000,000%.
And I want to tell you, the hamburger that your grandmother cooks with love, as opposed to some pimple-faced, uncaring, semi-stoned fellow that just flips it, there's a huge difference in how that food, sample A versus sample B, is going to be absorbed or accepted into your body.
Because that changes the quality, because love is the secret ingredient.
Yeah, that's the
And
vibration. So we just mentioned the F and L. The O is the oxygen. The
yep,
W is the water.
that's right.
And the water transports the oxygen, and it's the pH of the water It's allowing the oxygen quantity to be transported. So don't ignore the pH balance, which is related to minerals and nutrients and whatever else. But super important, one more
And
thing.
exhaling. Oh, pH has a lot to do with your exhale and changing your carbon dioxide and your oxygen.
Breathing. Yes, yes, yes. And then there's this thing I wanted to mention, which is called zeta potential, which
Yeah.
is this thing. Remember the rouleau, the red blood cells that were stuck together? Their zeta potential was low, and they were not repelling one another with sufficient inner force. And that zeta potential comes with nutrients. High level of nutrients in the body will build this potential, especially
Yes.
minerals. And,
Minerals are the
and,
key.
and
Minerals and water. I mean, we're just a bunch of saltwater bags held together with fascia tissue.
all right. So
And
now all of that back to the E on the end and E on the beginning. Energy only travels in a medium that allows it to travel. So water without minerals is non-conductive, need minerals. And lymph without movement, which is exercise at minimum, is stagnant. But maybe do you want to just mention these different points that people have on the body that kind of show them how things have gone out of balance?
yeah, so with this lymph that we have 3 times more of than blood, that's really where I'm going to give everybody a little link so that you know where to get your lymph and how to pump your own lymphatic system, how to change your filter is what we say. And that's free for anybody. You don't have to join my membership to do that. If you want to join the membership, it's only $33 a month because I want to make it accessible to people. But the PDF that we give you and the manual video is free just to get you started. We have between 600 and 1,000 lymph nodes. Those are like the doors of your body. These lymph nodes are focused in our and concentrated about 20% in our neck and 50% in our gut, and the rest are in the areas we bend, and they all connect from our head. They're called lymphatics, and they drain and help clean up the brain. In the gut, they're called gut associated lymphatic. So they're going to help clean out our gut tissue. And then you have the mucosa and the sinuses and the lungs. And so this whole inner skin, essentially, this mucosa, this lymphatic tissue, is moved with movement through the vessels, but then when it gets to the nodes, these are like the doors, and if these doors aren't open, nothing actually comes out. And these are deep in the body, and so we have to address them. And so we teach a manual technique. We also teach how you can use little vibration tools that I sell like this, that are designed specifically as a vibrational tool, a physical vibration, to create a movement in that tissue to break that up. And there's a specific sequence to allow the movement to come out of the body. Because, when you dust your house, you got to start at the top and work your way down, because otherwise you're just moving the dust around. You want to get the dust to come out. And so I teach the specific sequence to make you efficient at your lymphatic drainage. And for me, we brush our teeth twice a day. We should pump our lymph twice a day if everything's going well. If you're dealing with any symptom, it's because your lymph is clogged. You have brain fog, you have digestion issues, you have skin issues, you have menstrual issues, you have what else did I say? I don't know. All those are the top things. I can't sleep, I
Well,
can't poop, I don't have energy, I've found I don't have enough brain fog, I have brain
I
fog.
think I think the important ones are puffiness, swellingness, slowness, stinkiness, those
Yeah,
things.
well, those are also signs of lymph for sure that your body's not draining.
Yeah.
But I think some of the things that people don't think about are headaches. Like any symptom you have is because your lymph is full, bottom
Yeah.
line. And
Mm.
so the reason it gets clogged is because we're stagnant and we have dams. Dams are either tight fitting clothes or stuck adhesions or scars on the body. And as we open that up, we allow the rivers to flow again. So there's nothing stagnant, because the body is the body of ocean. That is your lymph. And if ocean water gets stagnant, what happens? Stuff gets smelly and gross. And like he said, like things grow in it. And you don't want that in your lymph system. You want it to be moving like free flowing water all the time so that it's clean and nothing's growing in it. And that happens at the lymph nodes. So by manually pumping our own lymph nodes, which is simple to do and takes 2 to 3 minutes a day, a couple times, we really open up those doors. And when we open up those doors, what happens is we feel better, we get lighter, we sleep better, the puffiness goes away. In general, any symptom we're dealing with reduces, and it allows us to maybe allow that body to detox, not maybe it does, allows the body to detox better, because so many people do detox programs, but they can't actually get through it because they're not draining. And so a lot of people have hormonal issues. You don't have hormonal issues, you have toxicity issues. And you have toxicity issues because your lymph is draining. You don't have gut issues, you have toxicity of the gut. And the reason you have toxicity of the gut, no matter what your symptom is, constipation or too much, it's because your lymph isn't moving. You don't have sleep issues, it's because your body has got toxins moving around and keeping you awake. And so when you regulate your nervous system, when you get the body into the parasympathetic and you move that lymph, the body's able to let go of things that are disrupting your sleep, that are irritating your nervous system because they're stuck in your lymph system. Is that what you're looking more for?
It's such a waterfall of words. It is just almost like stepping into too much intensity all at once. And I try to slow you down because we're talking to people who may have never heard this before. And it's a lot. At the same time, if you do get one thing from here, because Kelly does not talk this fast on her membership forum. She has more time and she slows it down and she actually teaches it really well with great examples. I have experienced it. I learned from it. It's really cool. And I
And
always wish when somebody calls me back and says, I want to return this product, it gave me a headache or it gave me a bad reaction. I'm thinking, oh, you foolish person, you are taking something that's going to help you, but you have to first open the doors, otherwise it's going to get stuck and blow up on the inside of you.
that's right. And I know you're right, Martin. I know I talk fast and folks listening, trust me, it's purely because I have so much in me that I want to give you. I have 30 years of knowledge of knowing why energy is what you need to focus on. I have 30 years of scientific proof of significance of client after client when I apply the science, how it works every freaking time as long as the client follows along.
Yeah.
And and I know that this can give you the freedom. So I just try to give you as much as I can so that you understand that today I pray that I opened you up enough to ask enough questions to continue down this rabbit hole. I never expect that I give you all of it today. I just want you to go, whoa, that's all stuff that I haven't heard. Good. Then look, this is the answer. This is the path you need to go down because everything you've tried has kept you right where you're at. This is going to help you shift and change. This is going to give you the freedom back that you've been looking for. This is the call you've been waiting for because we've all been wanting to be free. That's why we came here. We all wanted to live heaven on earth, and we don't know where the rule book is. Well, I didn't either, but I created it. So here we go.
There we go. And by the way, if you're anywhere near driving
Pennsylvania.
distance to Pennsylvania, you could go and visit Kelly at her clinic, which I wish I were closer, I promise.
I know, I know. Well, one day we'll make that happen. But yes, we're outside of Philadelphia, and we do see clients rather one-on-one for immersions, deeper work, as well as some, other technologies and so forth that we offer and hands-on, and we do virtual work as well. I mean, we're here to help you. We're
Yeah.
here to help you wherever you are, what I call the labyrinth of wellness. Wherever you stepped into it,
Yeah.
we're here to help you walk through the path just a little bit further in whatever one of these categories you really need, because these are the foundational categories. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you so
Well,
much, Martin, for
Kelly,
helping.
how different is that blue device that you showed from a typical vibrator that a woman would use for personal fun?
I'd say not much.
Well, what is it stronger? Is it similar?
So, well, first of all, it has three modes to it that are biosonic, that are specific for the lymph, and the head is the key. So while it does create the
It,
vibration, the head, which is,
Yeah.
very flexible. It fits really well under your chin and in your clavicle area and in your armpits and like in your inner elbow. And these are and in their abdomen. And these are all areas where those lymph nodes are. And so it's really set to create that vibration over the lymph nodes. And it's $85. And then I teach a $29 masterclass with it. So you know how to not just drain your top 10 lymph nodes, but I also teach you how to drain your liver, your kidneys, your breast, your inguinals, and you own that class so that you can only not only do this for you, but your kiddos, your four-legged kiddos, your two-legged kiddos, your parents. Teach everyone this. We all know how to brush our teeth. Why we don't know how to drain our lymph is well, that's why I'm here, I guess. It's not beyond me. It's why Kelly Kennedy's here. KFK, Kelly Flowen Kennedy. Teach everybody how to get that lymph. And it's on the physical level, yes, but then there's this emotional part because when we move water, emotions move. The ocean and the motion, that whole thing. So, but this tool is specifically made for the lymph. So the vibration is for that. So there's three um
So this would be a
vibration.
light pulse, medium pulse, big pulse type of thing, or what?
Yeah, the pulses are specific for the type of density of the tissue you're working on.
Uh,
So if you have a lipedema or lymphedema, we actually have another tool coming out that's better for that. So if you have lymphedema or lymphedema, it's actually
Lipedema is when your fat is all swelled up.
if you have that, don't buy this one. Go to my website. We have the Flow Vibe 2 coming out. We're actually, the first one selling it should be coming out this week. Wait for that one because this one is great for everyone, but that one's specifically good because that has 5 different programs on it. It's a little bit more expensive. It's 150, but the fourth and the fifth are more like a juju. So that's good for denser tissue. And then the last one is for lipedema. Boop, 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 boop. It's all about the pulse of the vibration
Yeah,
and what it's going to do to break up the tissue to get it to mobilize again.
back to the flow.
Back, it's all about energy flow, folks.
Yeah,
So, my thing is if you have any kind of form of vibration at home, start using it and then
that's
get a
what I
higher
was thinking.
quality form of
If I
vibration.
put it right here into where this thing is stuck, or well, okay, put it over here, or start from here. Okay, these
Always
three
here,
points over here,
always above the clavicle. We
just
always,
above. Yeah.
always start there.
It should be noted, if you don't know physiology, that the lymphatic system connects to the bloodstream just over here. There's a little waterfall, 2 channels, and the lymph joins the blood. And the filtration organs, your liver and your kidneys and your spleen, are filtering the blood. And the blood is the stuff that actually allows it to leave the body.
As well as
Sweat.
exhale. Correct. As well as exhale. We'll exhale out more toxicants than we pee, poop, or sweat. But to your point, the lymph does dump into the cardiovascular, into your heart. So do you want water dumping into your heart or do you want thick, nasty oil dumping in your heart? You want water. And
Yeah.
so the thinner the lymph is, the better all the flow goes into your heart and the better everything goes.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
and
in
if
lymph, we teach
somebody
it.
over here, yeah, if somebody over here is tempted to have some of their lymph nodes removed, try to resist that desire. You'll miss them.
And yes, and nothing is perfect and the body is workarounds. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people have lost their tonsils, or their appendix, or, and the body's amazingly resilient. I've had clients grow back spleens and all sorts of stuff. So if you're in a situation where you've had to have lymph nodes removed, know that there's workarounds at. If you're in a situation where you have an option, let's have a conversation.
Yeah. Well, good.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
okay. So if you don't have a headache from too much information, that's a good thing. If you do, listen to it 3 times.
yeah.
And the website is The True Wellness Center, THETRUE, wellness and center you can spell, .com. Look for membership. And there's much more. The website is big. There's a ton of stuff. Remember, Kelly's been at it for 30 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of knowledge that should be gone through. I don't know. Do you want to show some more slides that you think should have been
So
shown?
I would love to show one slide if, well, actually two different ones. So this one real quick. So I just want to share this slide with everybody. So this is my mom and dad. This is why I got into it and why I kept asking that question. But this is the picture of me in 1996 when 6 months before I discovered energy medicine. And this is me 3 years after a car accident. And my dad had died already 3 years prior to this picture being taken. And I would say, if you know anything about energy, I look kind of dead. I don't look like I have a lot of life force in my eyes.
Yeah,
The shape of my shoulders, look at how uneven they are. There's a lot of acne, there's a lot of asthma. And
yeah,
this picture to the right was taken at a friend's birthday party last September. It was just a candid picture.
yep.
And if you look at those two pictures next to each other, the one on the right has been free and the one on the left was in freaking prison. And so that is when you can apply energy flow. You literally become beautiful because your beauty comes from the inside. Because I look like I've had plastic surgery and I haven't. My eyes, I don't know why they were brown in this picture. My eyes have been blue my whole life, but that just tells you there was no light in me. And then the next picture I want to share with you is another person who works with me who has applied this energy of flow. And this is beautiful Sarah. And Sarah came to us. The one on the right is her now with her little like gemstones that stickers that she added on her face. The one on the left is a woman who came to me 3 years after her high school boyfriend had committed suicide
Oh,
and her heart was broken. She was a yoga instructor, vegan, ate all the right ways, totally moved, traveled around the world, became a Thai yoga instructor. She was living the way, but she didn't know how to heal her heart. And she showed up at the True Wellness Center now 10 years ago, and I get to work with this lovely woman every single day. She is part of my labyrinth journey. I love her so much. We went to Bali together last year for a water retreat. And Sarah has applied the science of energy and radically surrendered to this, which is why she's my lead practitioner in my center. Because at 28 years old, she has more wisdom in her because she has faced her dragons and she's here she's changed her water on the inside. And she continues to do so because she continues to live life. And she is one of my best leads. And I just want to share with you that people come into this woman now and tell her how beautiful her skin glows, and they don't know anything about her story. And can you imagine how that feels when the thing that was your biggest obstacle became the thing you give as a gift? Well, welcome to me, because I have to teach flow for a living. Come on, that's funny. When all I want to do is force people to get the truth. I want to force everybody. The part of me that still maybe a little needs to heal is the part that wants to strong arm you, tackle you down, and spit in your mouth and tell you this is the way it goes. This is how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be heaven on earth and learn all these things. But the part of me that's healed that goes, well, they can't learn it that way. You got to be soft and gentle, and you got to let them come to you can't force the horse to drink. You got to let them come to the water when they're ready. And so if you're ready and that's really you, don't come to the forum. Make a discovery call, an investigation call with me, rather, and spend $200 for 30 minutes. And let's figure out why you feel stuck. And let me help you navigate that and help you find the way out of it. Because what I want is the same thing you all want. I want freedom for all of us. I want sovereignty for everyone and every breath you take and every step you take as you move forward, because you really are enough. We all are. We all get the golden ticket this time around, not just Willy Wonka's little friend. We all get the golden ticket. And I'm here for you. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go. And Martin, thank you for this platform. Thank you for being part of my community. Thank you for showing up the way you always do and being so giving of your information. And, we're magnetic fields, so I attract like. So you all are very fortunate to have Martin. And the one thing I know that we focus on so much is minerals, and that is the key to life. We can't live without water and minerals. So thank you for what you do in the world and for letting me be a part of it.
Well, thank you. So all of you damaged people, there isn't one who isn't. We all actually come to this world. We create a disaster that we are then trying to learn from by overcoming it. So understand, this is your mission. You're not a screw up. You have just created the problem that is going to teach you about life. And that
Trust it.
is the mission.
Trust it.
Trust it, yes.
That's right.
And you'd be in good hands with Kelly Kennedy, the truewellnesscenter.com.